There are moments when something stirs deep inside you, quiet, subtle, but undeniable, like a thread being pulled in your chest. You wake up at the same time every night. You feel a heaviness when entering certain places. You sense something is coming, but can't explain how you know. That's not coincidence. That's the signal, and only a few are tuned enough to feel it. Before a tree breaks the ground, it's already alive beneath the surface. The shift always begins in silence, not noise, not in sudden chaos, but in the stillness before it. Most people miss it because they're too busy searching outside. But those who are ready, they notice, not with their eyes, but with their awareness. That's how it begins. In this video, I will share 10 teachings drawn from the Shaolin path. Lessons that don't shout but whisper. Teachings that don't promise escape but transformation. You will learn why pain is not your enemy, why your environment is shaping you silently, why true power starts with discipline, not motivation, and why your life doesn't need to be changed. You do. We will go beyond the surface of mindfulness and into the heart of self-mastery. These are not just ideas, they are practices, lived daily by monks and warriors who train not just to fight, but to become whole. If you stay until the end, you will understand why you are hearing this now, before this month ends, and what it's asking you to do. Welcome to the Shaolin Soulfire. If this speaks to something real inside you, subscribe, join us on the path, it's time. There is a season for everything, even silence. In the monastery, we rise long before the sun. There are mornings when the cold wraps around your bones, when your body aches from yesterday's training and your mind whispers, why continue? Those are not the glamorous moments people imagine when they think of discipline or peace. But those are the moments that matter. People think growth feels like progress, like clarity, like excitement. But often it feels like nothing is happening at all, like standing still in fog, like questioning yourself. That is the darkness where real roots grow. A seed buried in the soil does not panic. It does not beg for sunlight before it is ready. It stays in the dark. It lets the soil press against it. It absorbs the quiet. It breaks open slowly, invisibly. Not because it is weak, but because it must. It is preparing to rise. Many of you are in that place right now. Maybe you feel stuck, or lost, or tired of pretending to be okay. You think something is wrong with you. But what if this confusion, this slowness, this discomfort is not a problem to fix, but a signal to listen? Shaolin teaches us to respect the winters of life, not to fight them, not to flee, but to train within them. Because every still moment, every ordinary hour where nothing seems to be changing is sharpening you, strengthening you, teaching you patience, humility, and presence. You are not failing, you are forming. The roots don't shout as they grow. But one day, when the time comes, they will carry something strong enough to stand through storms. That is why we train. That is why we wait. Pain has a way of making us feel like something is wrong, like life is against us, like we're being punished for something we can't even name. But this view is narrow, and it blinds us to the truth hidden inside the suffering itself. In the old training halls, students would come with all kinds of burdens. Some ran from heartbreak, others from shame, failure, or fear. But the first lesson was always the same. Stop running, sit with it, breathe, look it in the eye. You begin to see the pain isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to show you where you're still holding on. Maybe to control, maybe to pride, maybe to an idea of how your life was supposed to be. The fire burns because you resist. But if you stop resisting even for a moment, you can learn from it. The Shaolin path doesn't ask you to pretend the fire isn't real. It asks you to walk through it with awareness, to feel everything and still stay grounded. That's not weakness, that's inner strength, the kind no one can give you and no one can take away. The body gets stronger through pressure, the mind through silence, the spirit through pain fully felt and not avoided. That is the discipline, to turn inward when it hurts, to ask, what is this showing me about myself? Not, why is this happening to me? Transformation doesn't begin when the pain stops. It begins when you stop fearing it. This is not punishment, this is passage, and the ones who walk it calm, aware, present, they don't just survive the fire, they come out cleaner, lighter, realer. The undisciplined mind is loud. It wants comfort, but also recognition. It avoids effort, but craves success. One moment it fears failure, the next it fears stillness. It pulls you in all directions, like wild horses tied to a single rope, and unless you learn to hold the rope, you will be dragged. This is why discipline matters, not to punish the body, but to train the mind. To say gently but firmly, this is the path, and I will walk it, whether my emotions agree today or not. In the old temples there were no excuses. Rain or heat, joy or sorrow, the practice continued. Not because the monks were machines, but because they understood this. Every time you follow through, especially when you don't feel like it, you're reclaiming something the mind tried to steal. One breath, one movement, one simple repetition. That's how you start taking your power back. Not in grand gestures or dramatic change, in showing up, daily, quietly, without applause. Discipline doesn't silence the chaos overnight, but it gives you a place to stand while the noise passes. Over time, it becomes your anchor, a kind of inner compass that doesn't spin wildly with emotion or doubt. And something else happens, clarity, not in the sense of knowing all the answers, but in sensing your own direction. You begin to trust yourself, not because things are easy, but because you've shown yourself that you will continue even when they're not. Discipline is love in action, a commitment to your highest self, practiced in the smallest choices. That's how you stop being a prisoner of your moods. That's how you become steady, not rigid but grounded, and in a world full of noise, that stillness is a kind of freedom. In the monastery, training doesn't end when the session ends. There is no line between the sacred and the ordinary. Sweeping the floor is training. Folding robes is training. How you walk, how you speak, how you pour tea. Everything is a mirror, showing you the state of your mind. Western minds often separate life into compartments: work, rest, play, practice. But true mastery dissolves those lines. It turns the whole day into a kind of moving meditation, not because life slows down, but because you become more aware inside it. This is why the environment matters so much. Not just where you live, but how. Is your space clean or chaotic? Do your digital habits feed focus or scatter it? Is your phone a tool or your master? These things shape you far more than you notice. Bit by bit, they build your default state. Monks treat their space like a dojo, not for show, but for discipline. Everything has its place, not out of perfectionism, but respect. If you live in disorder, your mind mirrors that. If you move with care, your thoughts begin to follow. You don't need to be in a temple to live this way. You can turn your room into a training hall, your morning routine into a ritual. Even brushing your teeth done with presence becomes a form of mindfulness. The chosen understand this. Mastery isn't built in rare, intense moments. It's shaped by what you repeat, even when no one is watching. And the space around you, quietly, constantly, reflects who you are becoming. Treat your environment like a teacher. Let it sharpen you, guide you, discipline you. That's how you live the path, not just think about it. That's how the external begins to reflect the internal. A man can conquer cities, build empires, break records, and still be ruled by his own mind. That kind of strength is loud, but fragile. It depends on control, on recognition, on winning. But there is another kind of power, quieter, harder to earn, and impossible to fake. The battle within is the most relentless. There is no audience, no applause, only the mirror of your own habits, reactions, and impulses. You wake up late and feel the pull of laziness. You're challenged and pride rises. You fail and excuses flood in to protect your image. These are the real enemies, and they know your weak spots better than anyone else. Victory here looks different. It's walking away when anger wants to explode. It's sitting down to train when no one is watching. It's staying silent when your ego wants to prove a point. No one sees these moments, but they change you. Bit by bit, they rewire your character. In the ancient schools, students weren't judged by how well they fought others, but by how they carried water, how they listened, how they responded under pressure. The outer form meant nothing without inner stillness. Because once you've defeated the reactive self, the self that avoids discomfort, seeks attention, clings to certainty, everything around you begins to align. You become less reactive, more focused, less needy, more free. The world no longer pulls you in 10 directions. You move with intention, speak with restraint, choose with clarity. That's not control, that's mastery. And it doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It happens through hundreds of tiny choices where you face yourself and stay present. Over time, that becomes your power, not loud but unshakable. There's a rhythm that lives beneath all movement, and it reveals itself when you stop rushing. In Shaolin tradition, the strike is not separate from the stillness. The breath guides the punch. The awareness sharpens the step. What looks like combat on the outside is meditation on the inside. The body moves, but the mind remains anchored. And when we sit in silence, it's not about escape, it's not about becoming passive, it's about returning to center. Sitting is not the absence of action, it is the source of all action done with clarity. You begin to notice thoughts as they rise, feelings as they shift, stories as they crumble. This is how stillness becomes its own kind of training. Most people live in fragments. They're calm when nothing is happening and anxious the moment life speeds up, or they're active, always doing but hollow inside. The path asks for integration, not either or but both. Stillness in motion, motion in stillness. It shows up in daily life, walking to work, not lost in thought, but present with each step. Washing your hands, not rushing, but feeling the water. Speaking not to react, but to respond with awareness. The most ordinary moments become a form of living meditation. The goal is not to remove chaos. Life will always carry tension, surprises, demands. But when your mind is trained in both movement and stillness, you don't collapse under pressure. You stay soft and steady, like bamboo, flexible but rooted. This is where peace is found, not by withdrawing from life, but by entering it fully awake, with eyes open, breath steady, and awareness flowing through every motion. Letting go sounds simple, until it's your turn to do it. You tell yourself it's over. You whisper, I'm done. But somewhere inside, you're still holding on to the story, to the blame, to the version of yourself that needed to be right or needed to be heard. Words can't release what the body still clings to. In the temple, letting go is not an idea, it's a discipline. You start with awareness. You notice the tension in your shoulders, the breath that never quite reaches your belly, the thought that keeps looping days after the moment has passed. That noticing is the first step, the gate. Then comes the breath, slow, deliberate, like waves brushing against stone. The breath teaches the nervous system that it's safe to relax, that it's safe to feel. Without the breath, the mind stays trapped in old loops, but with it something starts to melt. And then you loosen the grip, not forcefully, not with effort, but like unclenching a fist you didn't know was tight. You stop trying to resolve it. You stop feeding the pain with attention. And in that softness, you begin to sense the deeper truth. None of it is really yours. Not the praise, not the shame, not even the name you call yourself. These things pass through you like wind through leaves. You can witness them, learn from them, but you don't have to carry them. True letting go doesn't feel like loss. It feels like relief, like finally putting down something heavy you were never meant to hold. And the more you practice, the lighter you become, not because life gets easier, but because you no longer confuse weight with worth. Purpose is often misunderstood. People wait for it like a sign. Some lightning flash, some voice from beyond that says, this is what you're here for. But in the ancient paths, it doesn't work that way. Purpose is not found. It is built. One step, one choice, one small act of integrity repeated again and again, even when it feels like no one sees, especially when no one sees. In the early morning hours at the temple, before the chants begin, there's a silence you can almost touch. No one talks about dreams or passion. They sweep the floor. They light incense, they bow. These acts may seem ordinary, but inside them is devotion. Inside them is purpose forming like dew, quiet, gradual, unnoticed by the impatient eye. This is the secret. It's not the task that gives you purpose, it's how you meet it, with presence, with care, with the willingness to keep showing up. You don't wait to feel ready. Readiness is a myth. If you live by feeling, your path will always depend on moods and momentum. But if you live by principle, discipline, humility, compassion, something stronger starts to take shape beneath the surface. You won't always feel inspired. You won't always feel clear. But if you act with intention, purpose will begin to rise from your actions, like steam from warm tea, not dramatic, but steady. And one day, you'll look back and realize your path didn't come to you. You carved it with your time, your choices, your presence, not in the spotlight, but in the quiet. The world you see outside is shaped by the world you carry within. Not all at once, not with noise or force, but step by step, breath by breath. When your awareness deepens, your choices shift. When your energy softens, your direction becomes clear, and slowly life responds. This is not a call for urgency. It's a call for presence, for stillness, for simple, consistent actions done with care. That's how transformation begins, not in a single day, but in how you meet each day. If you've been waiting for a sign, this may be it. Not because the date matters, but because you're ready to listen now. Before this month ends, bring your focus inward, clean your space, sit in silence, train the mind, and walk your path with steady feet. The change isn't coming from outside, it's already unfolding within you. Thank you for walking this path with us. If this message resonated, support the journey by liking this video and subscribing to our channel Shaolin Soulfire. Until next time, stay rooted and stay aware. Only the chosen see this before 31 July. Shi Heng says, your life is about to change.